I'm Paul Edwards, author of the Mourners Woods books, and first and foremost, a monster kid. Tonight, I'm watching Dracula, Sovereign of the Damned from 1980. Dracula, Sovereign of the Damned is an anime, a Japanese animated full-length feature film based on Tomb of Dracula, which was a Marvel comic series that ran in the 1970s and was well liked by fans. The transition from comic book format to feature film format was not as easy as one might have thought. Basically, they had to take the same basic characters from the Tomb of Dracula comics and distill their essence down and simplify their stories a whole lot in order to fit everything in. And the movie itself has a sort of an episodic feel to it. It's as if you sat down and read a whole bunch of Tomb of Dracula comics, but you speed read them and, only absorbed about half of their content. Basically, the story is that Count Dracula became a vampire because he was cursed by the devil. And he resents the devil for this. And so to get revenge on the devil, he crashes a satanic ceremony where a young woman is supposed to be offered as a bride to the devil. And Dracula takes her as his bride instead. Well, the strange thing, the thing that Dracula was not expecting to happen, is that instead of killing her or turning her into a vampire herself, Dracula wound up falling in love with her. That's right, he fell in love with an ordinary human woman, and he couldn't bring himself to harm her. And so he married her for real, and they had a child together, a little baby, who is a human being, at least seemingly. And Dracula has somewhat softened his horrifying persona. He's still evil. He still wants to kill people. But there's some trace of humanity in him because he really does love his wife. And, of course, this is a source of conflict. Number one, Dracula has to deal with the fact that Satan is after him because Satan feels betrayed by him. And number two, he has to deal with the fact that there's a band of monster hunters, descendants of Professor Van Helsing and Jonathan Harker, characters from the original novel Dracula. And these monster hunters are joined by a human son of Dracula that Dracula had sired when he was still a human being before he had become a vampire. And this is the great-great-great-great-great-grandson of Dracula that's a human being and has joined the monster hunters to destroy his evil ancestor. So there's a lot going on here. This is what I mean when I say they crammed a lot in here, and they could only simplify larger stories in order to make them all fit into 1 hour and a half movie. The movie is pretty good. You have to accept the fact that this is Japanese animation. So, for one thing, all of the female characters look like Queen Starsha from Iskandar, from Star Blazers. But if you can get past the fact that it is 1980 style anime, the story is actually reasonably good. It does have some genuine scares in it. I won't spoil my favorite scare in it, but it's as soon as the action moves to New York City. The first thing that happens in New York City, I thought was a great twist and a great scare. A lot of the story, interestingly, is set in Boston in the then present day of 1980. And it just happens that I lived in the greater Boston area in 1980. And I can tell you firsthand that Boston in 1980 looked nothing like the way that they've drawn it here. But this is not a documentary. Obviously, they were emphasizing Gothic backgrounds for the Dracula character. So Dracula has to fight a war on multiple fronts. He has to fight against the monster hunters, and he has to fight against Satan. And in one strange part of the story, Dracula temporarily loses his vampiric superpowers and becomes an ordinary human being and has to deal with living as a human, which he hasn't done for centuries. And he gets hungry and has to go to a burger joint. So there's Dracula sitting in the burger joint eating a burger. And if you do an internet search for Dracula, Sovereign of the Damned, like 50% of the images that you'll come up with are going to be Dracula eating a burger. It's not a big plot element. It's just a little, blink and you'll miss it humor that they put in here. But for some reason, that image really caught on. Dracula, Sovereign of the Damned probably will appeal to you if you were a fan of the Tomb of Dracula comics. This movie is not okay for young kids. They have material in here that's not appropriate for all ages. So if you're thinking about letting a young monster fan see it because it's a cartoon, quote unquote, you might want to watch it first and decide for yourself if it's appropriate for the young monster fan that you have in mind. But it's all right. It's pretty good. My main complaint about Dracula, Sovereign of the Damned is endless exposition dumps. Characters give these big, long speeches to dump exposition because, again, they're trying to cram so much information from a whole bunch of comics issues into one film. And I think it probably would have worked better if they had just omitted some stuff from the comics and just, brought to life a few issues of the comic and not tried to cram the whole title's intellectual property into one film. But it's still pretty good. Still pretty good. Listen, if you're a fan of classic monsters and vintage horror, check out my book series, the Mourners Woods books. I'm self-published on Amazon. I've written a series of novels that are all set in a haunted forest, Mourners Woods. Unlike a lot of franchises, what my stories have in common is the location, but in each installment, it's a completely new cast of characters, a completely new threat, ghosts, monsters, banshees, and so forth. And the location is the only thing that the books have in common. So they're each freestanding stories you can read in any order. I recapture the feel and vibe of 20th century B movies in a contemporary setting. My name again is Paul Edwards. My books are the Mourners Woods books. Thanks for letting me talk to you about Dracula, Sovereign of the Damned. I'll see you in Mourners Woods.